So you don't have time to consume an entire podcast, that's okay. Enjoy the highlights on TRS Clips. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit that bell icon. The other thing I really want to ask you is Silicon Valley. I think it's inspirational, honestly, that you spend time, that you work, wo bhi at Facebook, and then something just happened in you. You had your Shah Rukh Khan from Swades moment. You sang Ye Jo Desh Hai Mera and came back here and did this. But what you're doing here is, it's really cool in terms of, I don't know how you were able to spot that Silicon Valley is shifting you. I admire that. But I actually want to ask you a little bit about Silicon Valley. What are the coders like there? What are the growth prospects there? And also we'll kind of head into a conversation about the future of the human race, which is always going to be developed at Silicon Valley first and foremost.
Right.
But what's that reality like? Like what's it like being a coder in terms of money, in terms of life, in terms of job?
Right. I think Silicon Valley, a lot of people probably already know this, but is you talked about again money. Money-wise, it's probably one of the highest paid regions in the world. Highest rewarding, highest paid. If you're an engineer in the Silicon Valley, then you're already making top-notch dollar in your life. While that's not the most important thing, it's something that drives a lot of us. The other is like the culture of Silicon Valley, because of the way it has evolved, is very accepting of failures. So people actually really, really respect you if you take risks and if you try out something new. Even if you fail, that's fine. Unlike in our society where failure is sort of looked down upon. People don't like talking about failures. People hesitate from talking about failures. That's one region where I believe Silicon Valley has done really well, is in pushing people to make mistakes. And truth is, like, if you're at solving a problem for a long enough time, you end up doing well at that because you have made a lot of mistakes. You would have learned from it. Rami, you yourself have been running this channel for a while. I'm sure you made a lot of mistakes in the beginning. But just because you've been at it for a long enough time, now you're one of the front runners of content, like in India, in the world, probably to a certain extent.
I feel I learned it from watching American TV shows. You pick certain things up from American culture.
Absolutely.
That just toughens you up. Right. But anyway, go on.
But like, if you see, the reason why you did it is because you wanted to experiment. You were not afraid of failing. That's a cultural thing that's been created in the Silicon Valley to a certain extent. And I feel I was very fortunate to get there, to be honest. Never thought that I would end up in the Silicon Valley. Like, especially most people wouldn't get hired then from Indian colleges into the Silicon Valley.
Dude, that's a very what the fuck kind of moment, because I've seen guys in engineering college, they will dedicate their life to that GRE, cracking it, applications, paying for this career counseling. And here you're sitting in a good engineering college in India, and just I'm assuming it's out of your natural love for code and your skill with it. That you sat here, did your thing, and you got recruited by Facebook abroad. It's crazy.
Yeah. So it goes from the same incident, right? I talked to this guy, Ajay Somani, who had never seen a computer, became the best coder in India.
What's he doing now, that guy?
He is right now leading the newsfeed team for Instagram. So
Did he get recruited with you?
Yeah.
Oh,
we both
shit.
joined Facebook at the same time.
Wow, okay.
So I mean, because I found him, and this is why like actually peers are so important. Because I found him, I started to actually focus a lot more on learning coding outside of college. Just got very experimental with it. We used to compete in a lot of competitions. We got really good at it after a while. We both got to represent India twice in this Olympics of coding, which is called as ICPC, in the World Finals. And we got recruited from there, actually.
Okay.
So we met a few recruiters from Google and Facebook. I had offers from both Google and Facebook. Google again in the Silicon Valley and Facebook again in the Silicon Valley. And my parents did not want me to join Facebook, by the way. They felt that Google is the safer option. It's just such a big company. This was in the time when Orkut had gone down. Orkut had disappeared. So my parents felt that Facebook is a very risky option. But then I just talked to a lot of people, and I felt like Facebook is in this place where you'll just get to do cooler things. You'll get to own a lot of things, and hence made the call to join Facebook as the first job. So Ajay joined with me.
Dude, shit, what were you feeling when you flew to the US? I'm sure there was a part of you that was happy, but there has to be a part of you that had some sort of cultural shock.
Yeah. I mean, so I told you like we used to participate in competitions. So on both occasions where we had to represent India, we had to go outside of India. So the first time was to Stockholm, and the second time was to China. both like polarizingly different, right? So my first cultural shock was when I went to Stockholm. I remember that they were serving dinner and they had these pork sausages, which were almost shiny, and both of us mistook it to be gulab jamuns.
Nice, I like it.
And then we had that, and then we realized, oh shit.
What are the coders like there? Because you know the coders in Indian engineering colleges, either they are the Ratta Maro coders like me, or they are like you, which is a very rare case, honestly. I don't know what the scene is now because it's been 10 years since I started my engineering. But most of the coders, like I'd probably say 80 to 90% of the kids are probably good enough to understand code, probably inclined towards code, but they're looking for like a safe job at TCS, Infosys, Mu Sigma, Capgemini, these kind of companies.
Right.
So and you know, this is everyone. I don't know if you remember this, but in your third or fourth year of engineering college, you kind of get possessed into this whole placement vibe, and your friends are like telling you, "Oh, what's your package? What are you aiming for? Oh, there's this company." The whole college kind of goes crazy in that third, fourth year zone.
Right.
Do you think that's changing? Do you think that kids are now starting to realize, okay, there's a scaler out there. Oh, okay, there's a bigger prospect for my career. My hope is that they do. My hope is that all the engineering students in the country find this podcast. Please share this podcast, engineering students. If you guys are watching this, put it on your class groups, etc. Because that's what I feel students need, man. They need to be aware that all these options are out there. But is it an accurate general scenario that I've painted, or is it different according to you?
No, it is very accurate. Actually, placement season is one of the most stressful times in anybody's career.
Yeah.
I know of people who have cried for days because every single day companies would come, they would not get hired, they would just feel that they are being left behind, behind everybody else. And then that's just a very lonely and stressful time for everybody in their careers. And then like it's a horrible time to be in. But to be honest, like one thing which I've also learned is that, look, at the end of the time, the best job guarantee is what you can do. Your skills. Skills is the best job guarantee. I mean, as long as you're a skilled, there is always going to be somebody out there who would want to hire you.
I also just want to highlight one quick thing before I let you continue. Often what happens in third year, fourth year, especially in engineering college, but I'm assuming all colleges in the country, you're given a very wrong picture of the outside world, often by your professors, often by your peers.
Right.
Often, like I remember, man, I decided to sit only for one job interview in placement season. And that was also one of the early ones where I felt like, maybe let me just try it. I got rejected after they scanned my social media. I don't know whether it was because I was active on social media or what, but you had to actually fill in your social media. You had to give them access to your Facebook and all. They scan it, and I'd given an IQ test, which I'm sure I aced because I used to be good at logic and IQ. I was also studying for CAT for some reason. But I got rejected, I think, based on them scanning my social media, that particular company. And I decided not to sit for any other placements because I didn't want a job that was available in engineering college. So I told my friends that I'll look for stuff outside. I'm sure there are opportunities in finance. I'm sure there's opportunities in media and startups, whatever. And I had a huge amount of people unanimously tell me, you're making a mistake. And I'm sure that other kids in third, fourth year go through this. Right. Where they're just trying to think in an alternative way that, okay, I'll try to do something else. And the rest of the class will shit all over them. No, you're messing up your career. They'll put doubts in your head even if you are that optimistic risk taker. Which I feel is wrong. Which I hope that anyone who's listening to this podcast just understands that if you're thinking alternatively about your life, that actually might be the right way to go. So don't let those voices like kill off your own inner voice. But
absolutely.
Anyway, go on.
No, absolutely. So one of the things that I learned when I went to Facebook, the first thing that I learned was that Facebook actually has a 6-week bootcamp. And post that, you get to choose the team that you will work with. And their philosophy is, look, I mean, people perform the best when they are really passionate about what they're doing. passion comes first, everything comes later on. I think because engineering is more or less forced onto people without them actually realizing why they're making the decision they are, there are a lot of people who probably might not be interested in engineering for multiple of reasons, right? One is they're not taught the right way. It is never made to be a fun process. It's just like something you have to mug up because you have to clear the exams. And then that just takes the fun out of things. So because people don't love engineering, I mean, a lot of times it is actually a very bad decision to stay in engineering once you've gone through all of that. Either you rediscover and then develop your love for engineering and hence you stay in engineering and that's why you are building a career there, or you explore something else. There's so much outside. And you're very right, like there's a lot of misinformation on the ground. The kind of misinformation just keeps changing. For example, I don't know like whether it was at the time when you graduated or not, but these days the newest fad is that machine learning, AI, data science, all of these are cool things to do and let's just go and learn it. And what a lot of people miss out on is like there is a lot of basics building before you do an AI. AI is advanced form of computer science. You have to learn computer science really well before you go and do AI. You can't go and participate in a 100-meter race before you start to learn how to walk and run, right? Like you have to first learn that and then you start running in a 100-meter race. A lot of people directly opt for the 100-meter race nowadays, which is also really unfortunate.